We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. My friends, let that sink in for a second. How much of what you've been through in love, in dating, in relationships, was actually real, and how much was just fear whispering in your ear? That fear says, if you don't chase her, you'll lose her. That fear says, if you don't text first, you'll be forgotten. That fear tells you that silence is dangerous, when in truth, silence is often your greatest strength. Before we dive deep into this message, do me a favor. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share with you could flip the way you see attraction forever. Hey folks, imagine this with me. Picture a fire. When you keep throwing wood at it non-stop, smothering it with too much fuel, what happens? It suffocates. But when you give it just enough and then step back, the flames grow brighter, hotter, and stronger. That's an attraction. Too much chasing, too much availability, too much "I'll do anything for you" energy. It doesn't feed the fire, it kills it. Detachment is the oxygen. Pulling back gives the connection room to breathe. Here's where most men get it wrong. They think detachment means coldness, that it means ignoring her, that it means playing childish games. Wrong. Detachment is not about becoming ice, it's about becoming a rock. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water." That's detachment. You don't stop caring, you stop collapsing. You don't vanish, you become steady. Let me break a lie right now. You've been told that if you don't text her good morning every day, if you don't reply within minutes, if you don't drop everything the second she calls, she'll lose interest. My friends, that's not interest. That's dependency. And dependency never creates desire. Think about it. Has anyone ever valued what they never had to wonder about? Has anyone ever craved what was always within arm's reach? Imagine walking into a room where music is blasting non-stop. After a while, you stop hearing it. It becomes background noise. That's what happens when you're always available, always pouring energy, always filling silence. Now, imagine the music cuts. The sudden quiet makes you notice what's missing. That's detachment. Silence isn't empty, it echoes. It makes her feel the weight of your presence because she finally has to sit with the absence. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing her, you stop suffocating the fire. When you stop texting out of fear, you stop being background noise. When you pull back with calm confidence, you actually become magnetic. She leans in not because you manipulated her, but because you respected yourself. And respect, my friends, is the foundation of attraction. Let me tell you something that might sting. If your entire peace depends on her next text, you've already lost yourself. If your heartbeat races every time she leaves you on red, you've handed her the keys to your self-worth. Epictetus said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." That's the essence of detachment. You don't control her moods, her timing, or her attention. You control your center. So what does this mean for you? It means you stop begging silence to fill you, and you start filling yourself with purpose. It means you let your yes have weight, and your no have backbone. It means you enjoy her company without abandoning your mission. And ironically, when you live this way, attraction stops being fragile. It stops being a game. It becomes the natural response to your strength, your discipline, your calm. Stay with me, because we're about to break this down step by step. Why detachment creates the deepest attraction, and how stoic discipline helps you hold that power without fear. But for now, I want you to take this one truth and burn it into your mind. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding value. When you stand firm, you start radiating it. Write this in the comments as your affirmation. I choose strength. Just 3 words. And don't forget, press the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me, because what's coming next will open your eyes even wider. Number 1. The paradox of pulling back. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Let's hit this hard, my friends, because here's the truth most never dare to face. The more you chase, the more they run. The more you lean, the more they lean away. You think that if you pull back, they'll forget you. You think that if you stop calling, stop checking in first, stop pouring your attention out like water in the desert, they'll find someone else. That fear keeps you locked in a cage. But in reality, it's the very act of holding back, of stepping into stillness, that flips the script. That's the paradox of pulling back. Picture this with me. Imagine a fisherman casting his net again and again into the water, desperate to catch something. He throws it every minute, splashing, disturbing the surface. The fish scatter because the energy feels frantic. Now imagine a fisherman who casts once, then sits steady, calm, patient. The water settles. The fish returned. They swim closer. That's what happens when you stop throwing yourself at people's attention. Calm attracts what chaos repels. But I know what some of you are thinking right now. If I stop reaching out, won't they move on? If I stop texting, won't they assume I don't care? If I don't show constant availability, won't they just replace me with someone who does? That's the fear of talking. And that fear has already stolen enough of your power. The Stoics would remind you, as Epictetus did, that you cannot control their thoughts, their choices, their moods. What you can control is your own frame. What you can command is your response. And when you respond with self-respect instead of fear, you stop bleeding energy. You stop being predictable background noise, and you start becoming the signal. Think about it like fire again. When you crowd the flames with too much wood, too much air, too much movement, it dies out. But when you step back and give it balance, it thrives. Attraction is fire. Overfeeding it with desperation kills it. Pulling back, standing steady, gives it oxygen. The lie most of us were told is that love is proven by constant presence, that if you don't remind them every hour that you're there, they'll forget you. But here's the hard truth. Constant presence doesn't prove love. It proves dependence. And dependence never creates respect. Nobody craves what's always guaranteed. Nobody chases what's always in their pocket. They only crave what they might lose, what they have to lean toward, what they cannot take for granted. And here's where detachment comes in. When you pull back, you're not punishing them, you're not playing games, you're simply refusing to give away your center. You're saying, my peace is mine, my time is mine, my worth is not for sale. That stance is magnetic. Why? Because it's rare. Most men collapse at the first sign of distance. They panic text. They over-explain. They beg silence to end. When you don't, you set yourself apart. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your only ambition is to keep someone's attention, your worth will rise and fall like a stock market. But when your ambition is greater, your purpose, your mission, your discipline, then your worth isn't something they can inflate or deflate. And paradoxically, that's when they lean in. They start to wonder, why isn't he scrambling like the others? Why does his silence feel steady instead of needy? Where is his attention going? What is he building that makes him so unshaken? That curiosity is the spark. It's not easy, I know. Pulling back feels like walking into fire barefoot. The silence will scream at first. Your mind will whisper, "You're losing them. They're forgetting you." This will backfire. But here's the reality. If someone forgets you simply because you stopped texting for a day, did you ever really have their respect? If someone replaces you the second you stop performing, was there ever true attraction to begin with? That's not love, my friends. That's convenient. And you were never born to be someone's convenience. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you've been seeing someone. For weeks, you're the one holding it together, initiating every plan, filling every silence, keeping the energy alive like a one-man band. But then you decide to shift. You stop forcing momentum. You still reply, but you reply with clarity, not desperation. You keep your workouts. You finish your work projects. You meet your brothers for dinner instead of cancelling. And 2 days later, a message pings. "Hey, haven't heard from you. Is everything good?" That's the paradox at work. The less you push, the more they pull. Not because you were manipulated, but because you finally respected your own gravity. And don't get it twisted. Pulling back doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean stonewalling or ghosting. It means balancing warmth with backbone. You can still smile, still plan, still listen, but you no longer beg. You no longer explain your worth in paragraphs. You no longer collapse your boundaries for scraps of attention. You lead, you invite, you let silence breathe. You let your life fill with purpose so that when you show up, it actually means something. So the paradox is this: pulling back doesn't weaken the bond, it strengthens it. It doesn't make them respect you less, it makes them respect you more, because you've shown that you're not afraid to lose attention. You're afraid to lose yourself. And that, my friends, is a man's ultimate strength. I want you to type this in the comments as your affirmation. I respect my center. Show yourself, show the world, show the ones watching you that you're no longer chasing shadows, you're standing in your own light. And stay with me, because what's coming next will open an even deeper truth. How mystery, not availability, fuels attraction. If pulling back is the paradox, then mystery is the spark. And once you see how those two combine, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Number 2, mystery over availability. Withdraw into yourself. Our master reason requires us to do so. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, let's be real. Nothing kills desire faster than predictability. If they always know where you are, what you're doing, and that you'll answer within seconds every time they call, you become like a song that's been played so many times it fades into background noise. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Background noise never inspires longing. What inspires longing is mystery. What creates pull is the unknown. That's why detachment works. Because when you're not automatically available, curiosity wakes up, and curiosity is the spark of attraction. Imagine a movie that gives away the ending in the first 5 minutes. Would you keep watching? No chance. You'd scroll, switch it off, walk away. But think about the movies that hook you the hardest. They show you just enough, reveal pieces slowly, keep you wondering, keep you leaning forward. That's what keeps your eyes glued to the screen. Relationships work the same way. If every move, every thought, every ounce of your energy is poured out with no pause, no gaps, no edge, there's nothing left to discover. No tension, no pull, no mystery. Here's where most men fall into the trap. They confuse availability with devotion. They think being instantly reachable at every hour proves love. They think saying yes to every plan proves loyalty. They think rearranging their entire calendar at the slightest hint of interest proves commitment. But what it really proves is that you have no spine. It proves your time is cheap, and cheap time never feels valuable. The lie you've been fed is that constant access equals attraction. But the truth is, constant access breeds complacency. Let me put it in a picture. Imagine a book with every single secret written on the cover. You wouldn't even bother opening the first page. There's no thrill, no wondering, no anticipation. But imagine a book with a cover that hints at something deeper, a title that stirs your mind, a back page that teases. That's the book you want to open, the story you want to enter. You want to discover what's inside because it isn't handed to you all at once. That's the difference between mystery and availability. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but won't mystery make them think I don't care? Won't it push them away if I don't answer right away, or if I don't drop everything for them? No, my friends, mystery doesn't mean coldness. Mystery doesn't mean disappearing. Mystery means living a life so full that your attention actually carries weight. It means you still answer, but you answer with intention, not desperation. You still show up, but on solid ground, not on shaky knees. Marcus Aurelius told himself to be like the rock against which the waves crash. Think about that image. The rock doesn't move. The rock doesn't chase the water comes to it. That's what your life should feel like. Steady, grounded, directed. And when you live that way, they begin to wonder, where does his focus go when it's not on me? What is he building? Who is he becoming? That wonder is the birthplace of attraction. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're seeing someone. In the past, you were available every night. Midnight calls, you'd answer. Last-minute plans, you'd cancel your workout, your sleep, your commitments, and run over. At first, they might have appreciated it, but over time, it flattens. There's no tension left. You've become like wallpaper, always there, never noticed. Now imagine you shift. You still care. You still show up. But you stop collapsing your world. When they call at midnight, you say warmly, "I've got an early start, but Saturday works. Let's grab coffee at the park." Do you see the difference? You didn't ignore them. You didn't punish. You framed your time as valuable, and suddenly Saturday carries weight. Suddenly, they're stepping into your world instead of you collapsing into theirs. This is the paradox of mystery. It doesn't come from playing games. It comes from living fully, from training, building, learning, creating, serving, from living a life rich enough that you don't have to beg for meaning from someone else's attention. That's what makes you unpredictable in the best way. Not reckless, not erratic, but grounded and selective. They may not know exactly when you'll say yes, but they'll know that when you do, it's from a place of strength. And here's the kicker. People don't respect what they can predict without fail. They respect what has to be earned. That's why mystery works. That's why detachment attracts, because your eyes has weight when your nose has backbone. So, let me break another lie here. You don't win someone's heart by giving them unlimited access. You win it by protecting your standards, by letting your life speak louder than your texts. You don't need to remind them of your worth every minute. The silence, the space, the purposeful absence, those remind them better than words ever could. Type this affirmation in the comments right now. My presence has weight. Write it. Show yourself. Show the world. Show those around you that you're no longer chasing cheap validation. You're living from grounded value. And stay with me, my friends, because the next truth will hit even harder. We've talked about mystery, but now we're going to uncover why self-mastery is the rarest and most magnetic trait a man can carry. Once you see how discipline transforms your energy, you'll never look at attraction the same way again. Number 4, the weight of absence. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, let's talk about silence, not the kind that feels cold or cruel, but the kind that has gravity, the kind that lingers in the room like the outline around a painting, making the image clearer, sharper, undeniable. Because here's the truth, silence isn't empty. Absence isn't nothing. Absence has weight. And when you stop overgiving, when you stop filling every second with texts, calls, and constant check-ins, your absence begins to speak louder than your presence ever did. That's the paradox. Picture this. You've been the one sending good morning texts every single day. You've been the one dropping everything to answer, filling every gap in the conversation, making sure no silence lasts longer than a breath. At first, it feels like you're doing the right thing. You're keeping the fire alive, right? But here's what actually happens. Over time, those words stop being noticed. Those efforts stop carrying impact. Why? Because they've become routine. Human nature stops valuing what's always guaranteed. Constant presence becomes background noise. Now imagine you step back, not out of bitterness, not to punish, but to protect your center. You stop overfilling the air. You let silence breathe. You keep your commitments, your training, your work, your mission. You answer with warmth, but not with panic. You let hours, sometimes even a day, pass before responding because you were busy living. At first, it feels risky. The fear creeps in. Will they forget me? Will this backfire? But then it happens. The message arrives. Hey, haven't heard from you. Everything good? That, my friends, is the weight of absence. The echo of what you once gave now rings louder because you've given it contrast. Think about music. A song without pauses, without rests, without space between notes is just noise. But the silence between the beats, that's what gives rhythm, that's what gives beauty, that's what makes the sound powerful. Your absence is that rest, that pause, that contrast. It doesn't erase your presence, it defines it. The lie you've been told is that love means constant communication, that if you don't show up every second, you'll be forgotten. But the truth is this, constant communication dulls value. Space sharpens it. They don't miss the things that never leave. They miss the things that step back and allow space for memory to grow. Silence doesn't erase your worth. It magnifies it. Let me give you a picture. You've been seeing someone, and for weeks, you're the fixer. Every argument, you apologize first. Every pause, you fill it. Every plan, you initiate. But then, 1 week after mixed signals, you stop forcing. You still care, but you keep your ground. You train. You focus on your projects. You go to bed on time. You let their message wait until you've finished what you were doing. And a few days later, a text pops up. I miss the way you... That sentence only exists because the silence existed first. Absence turned your daily habits into something noticeable, something valuable. Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Detachment works the same way. When you stop needing constant reassurance, you create wealth in the relationship. Your absence teaches both them and you that your value isn't in how much you give, but in how much you choose to give. And chosen presence always weighs more than automatic presence. Here's why this works. Absence sharpens memory. That late-night call you used to answer without fail now feels heavy when it doesn't happen. That daily good morning text they took for granted now echoes because it's gone. They remember the way you brought calm to the room, the way your energy steadied them, the way your presence filled space. They feel the loss, and in that feeling, they discover the truth. Your attention wasn't cheap. It was gold, and they spent it carelessly. And here's the deeper lesson. Absence isn't about withholding love. It's about protecting peace. It's about building your inner citadel, that fortress Marcus Aurelius spoke of, where nothing external can shake you. Because while they wrestle with the echo of silence, you stay grounded. You're not waiting, pacing, refreshing your phone. You're building, you're training, you're serving, you're present with your own life. That's what makes your presence heavy. That's what makes your absence echo. But don't confuse absence with punishment. You're not disappearing to hurt them. You're not sulking in silence. You're not stonewalling. You're investing. You're choosing. You're showing that your time is measured. Your attention is intentional. Your presence is rare. And rarity, my friends, is always attractive. Diamonds are rare. Gold is rare. Silence is rare in a world full of noise. So when you step back, you're not saying, "I don't care." You're saying, "I care, but I won't collapse." You're saying, "My peace comes first." You're saying, "If you want my attention, it has weight. It has value. It has meaning." Write this in the comments right now as your affirmation. My absence has weight. Show yourself. Show the world. Show everyone watching you that you're no longer afraid of silence. You're letting silence work for you. And stay with me, because what comes next builds on this truth. If absence carries weight, then contrast creates desire. In the next part, we'll break down why your presence shines brighter when it's framed by space, and how detachment turns ordinary moments into unforgettable ones. Don't move. This is where it gets even deeper. Number 5. Desire through contrast. Even the stars without the night would go unnoticed. Seneca. My friends, let's hit this straight on. Desire doesn't grow in sameness. It doesn't spark in predictability. It lives, breathes, and burns because of contrast. Without dark, there's no light. Without distance, there's no longing. Without absence, there's no craving for presence. This is where detachment becomes a powerful force, because it creates contrast. And contrast is what makes desire unforgettable. Picture a flame in broad daylight. It flickers, it burns, but the sun swallows it. You barely notice it. Now, imagine the same flame in the black of night. Suddenly, it glows brighter, warmer, more alive. You're drawn to it because the darkness framed it. That's what happens with your presence. If you're always there, always available, always giving, your light fades into the background. But when you step back, when you let space surround your presence, suddenly your energy shines. It becomes rare. It becomes noticed. But I know the battle in your mind. If I don't show up every second, won't they think I don't care? If I don't keep proving myself, won't they forget me? If I don't give everything, won't someone else take my place? That's the fear of losing. And that fear makes you give until your presence loses all edge. It's human nature to take for granted what never leaves. That's why constant availability doesn't build desire, it destroys it. Think about your favorite meal. The first time you have it, it's unforgettable, but eat it every day, every hour, and it loses its flavor. Not because it stopped being good, but because it stopped being rare. Desire depends on proportion, on balance, on contrast. Detachment restores that balance by making your attention intentional, not automatic. Here's the lie most men believe, that being always on proves loyalty, that if you're not available 24/7, they'll question your love. But loyalty isn't proven by abandoning yourself. It's proven by showing up with weight when it matters. And weight only exists when there's contrast. If every text is instant, every plan is rearranged for them, every hour is open, your presence doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like wallpaper, and wallpaper never stirs desire. Let me give you a picture. You've been seeing someone, and for months you've been the man who bends. Midnight calls, late-night drives, last-minute, "Can you come over?" requests. You've been saying yes to everything. At first, they might have enjoyed it, but slowly the energy flattened. There's nothing to anticipate because you're always one text away. Now imagine you shift. You still care, you still answer, but you don't bend your life out of shape. When the midnight call comes, you say warmly, "Got an early morning, but Friday works. There's a new spot I'd love to take you." Do you see the contrast? You didn't punish, you didn't vanish, you created anticipation. Now, Friday feels sharper, more intentional, more alive, precisely because it wasn't squeezed in at the last minute. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already." When you stop overgiving, when you allow space, people start noticing what they had all along. They start missing the steady calm you brought, the warmth of your presence, the clarity of your voice. Contrast makes those things valuable again. Without it, they blur into routine. With it, they become unforgettable. And here's the deeper truth. Contrast isn't about deprivation. It's not about withholding affection to manipulate. It's about proportion. Stoicism calls this temperance, not denial, but balance, work and rest, speech and silence, presence and absence. Too much of either side destroys desire, but balance creates harmony, and harmony keeps attraction alive. Think about stars again. You don't see them at noon, though they're still there, but at night they capture your breath. Not because they changed, but because contrast revealed them. Your attention works the same way. When you give it constantly, it disappears. When you give it with proportion, it glows. So, my friends, let me break the chain of lies here. You don't need to prove your value by flooding someone with attention. You don't need to audition every second. You don't need to give until you're drained. You need to let contrast do the work for you. Your absence doesn't erase your worth. It defines it. Your boundaries don't kill desire. They shape it. Your detachment doesn't make you forgettable. It makes you rare. And rarity is what creates craving. Here's what I want you to write in the comments right now. My presence shines brighter with contrast. Say it, type it, show yourself, show the world that you understand. Your energy is not wallpaper, it's fire. And fire only matters when it's framed by the night. Stay with me, because what's coming next will strike even deeper. We've talked about contrast. Now we're going to explore something even rarer, the calm they didn't expect. When everyone else panics, the man who stays steady becomes unforgettable. And once you learn how calm under pressure flips the script, you'll understand why stillness is often louder than any words you could speak. Number 6, the calm they didn't expect. True power is calmness under pressure. Seneca. My friends, let's cut straight to it. Most men crumble the second things get shaky, the moment they sense distance, the moment the replies slow down, the moment plans get vague. They panic, they flood the phone, they over-explain, they beg, they plead, they chase. And in that storm of desperation, they destroy the very respect they're fighting to keep. But here's the paradox. When you refuse to panic, when you stay calm instead of collapsing, you flip the entire script. Suddenly, they don't understand. They expected chaos. They expected you to beg. They expected you to chase. But what they met was calm. And calm, my friends, is power. Picture a storm at sea. The waves crash, the wind screams, the sky tears open. Everything feels like it's breaking apart. But in the middle of that chaos, a lighthouse stands, steady, silent, unmoved. Ships don't look for another wave to guide them. They look for that steady light. That's you when you hold your calm. That's you when you refuse to be dragged into fear. You become the lighthouse in someone else's storm, and that steadiness is magnetic. Now let's be honest, the fear will scream at you. If I don't react now, I'll lose them. If I don't show how much I care, they'll forget me. If I don't prove myself, someone else will take my place. That fear makes you think panic is love, but panic isn't love. Panic is insecurity, and insecurity is repelling. Calm, on the other hand, isn't cold. It's centered. It says, I can care for you without collapsing myself. And that is a signal most people rarely encounter. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's exactly what calmness under pressure proves. You can't control their mood, their timing, their distance. But you can control whether you lose yourself in the process. And the moment you show that discipline, they feel it. They notice the difference between a man who's begging for reassurance and a man who refuses to negotiate his dignity. Let me paint a picture. You've been seeing someone and they cancel plans with a casual, "This week's crazy." The old you would have spun into chaos. 3 paragraphs of over-explaining, offers to meet any time, maybe even a guilt trip. You'd sacrifice your schedule, your peace, your sleep, just to squeeze back into their orbit. But the calm you breathe. You send one clear, warm message. All good. Sounds like a full week. I'm tied up tonight too. Let's aim for Tuesday, 7 p.m., new Thai place on Oak. And then you set your phone down, you go lift, you finish your project, you call your brother back. No sulking, no begging, no storm, just calm. And what happens? The next day, they're not just thinking about Tuesday, they're thinking about your tone. They're wondering, why didn't he chase? Why didn't he panic? Why is he so steady? That curiosity is the echo of respect. Calm, under pressure, unsettles people in the best way, because everyone else collapses, but you didn't. Here's the lie. You've been told that reacting fast proves you care, that blowing up someone's phone shows loyalty, that adjusting your entire life proves commitment. But the truth? That behavior proves fear, and fear never creates attraction. Calm does. Calm says, I care, but I won't beg. Calm says, I hear you, but I won't lose me. Calm says, if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll still be steady. That kind of presence is rare, and rarity, as we know, is magnetic. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And this is where calm changes everything, because distance, silence, uncertainty, these will always come. But how you respond is the difference between respect and rejection. The man who reacts with panic loses value. The man who responds with composure gains it. So what do you do when the urge to spiral rises? You pause, you breathe, you let the storm pass without letting it control your hands. You finish the workout. You keep the promise you made to yourself. You let time reveal truth instead of trying to force it. That pause is your power. That stillness is your weapon. Because nothing says strength louder than silence held with discipline. And here's the beauty of calm. It creates space. Conversations become lighter because you're not auditioning. Time together feels richer because you're not squeezing it out of fear. They start leaning in, not because you begged, but because your calm gave them room to choose. That freedom is attractive. That steadiness is unforgettable. Write this affirmation in the comments right now. My calm is my power. Say it, type it, show yourself, show the world that you're done reacting out of fear. You're done collapsing at the first sign of distance. You're holding your ground like the lighthouse in the storm. And stay with me, my friends, because what comes next flows directly from this. Calm creates respect. Distance, when combined with composure, births respect in a way chasing never could. In the next section, we'll break down why respect is born in distance, and why without it, desire cannot survive. This is where attraction grows legs. Don't move. It gets even deeper from here. Number 7. Respect is born in distance. If you want to be respected by others, the great thing is to respect yourself. Fyodor Dostoevsky. My friends, let's tell the truth that many men don't want to hear. Desire without respect is an illusion. You can make them laugh, you can win their attention, you can even stir up temporary desire. But if there is no respect, it will not last. And here's where distance enters the picture. Respect doesn't grow when you beg. Respect doesn't grow when you chase. Respect doesn't grow when you collapse your boundaries just to keep someone close. Respect grows in distance, in restraint, in the space where you prove that your dignity is not up for negotiation. Think about this. You've probably seen men who think buying more gifts, sending longer messages, and giving endless access will make someone stay. And yet, over time, those same men are discarded. Why? Because there's no respect in neediness. There's pity, maybe gratitude, maybe even convenience, but not respect. Respect shows up when you have something you refuse to sacrifice, your standards, your purpose, your peace. When you show that you won't bend your spine just to avoid discomfort, suddenly people see you differently. They realize you're not a man who will sell his dignity for attention, and that realization is magnetic. Imagine a tree in a storm. The weaker trees bend, snap, and scatter leaves everywhere, but the oak, tall, rooted, unshaken, stands firm. It doesn't mean the oak isn't touched by the wind. It just means its roots are deeper than the storm. That's you when you hold your distance. You're not saying you don't care. You're saying you care enough about yourself to stay rooted. And that rootedness commands respect. But I know the thoughts that rush into your mind. If I step back, they'll think I don't care. If I stop proving myself, they'll forget me. If I don't bend, they'll just move on to someone who will. That's the lie you've been sold. That loyalty means self-betrayal. That love means erasing yourself. That closeness means constant sacrifice. The truth is exactly the opposite. The moment you sacrifice your self-respect, attraction dies. The moment you hold your frame with warmth and distance, attraction grows. Epictetus said, "You will earn the respect of all men if you begin by earning the respect of yourself." And that's the heart of this lesson. When you pull back, when you hold distance, when you refuse to crawl just to be chosen, you send a message. I respect myself. I value myself. I will not sell myself for scraps of attention. And that message commands respect without you saying a word. Let me give you a real picture. You've been seeing someone and they've gone vague. Short replies, excuses, less interest. The old version of you would have flooded their phone, maybe sent a gift, maybe begged for reassurance. But the new you, You send one clear, calm invitation. I'd like to see you Thursday, dinner at that new spot. If they say yes, great. If they say no, you respond once. All good, reach out if that changes. Then you return to your life, training, working, building, resting. You don't argue, you don't beg, you don't audition, you lead once, then you let go. A few days later, the message comes. How about next Tuesday? That moment happens because your distance created respect. They realized you weren't going to collapse just to keep them. Here's what most men never learn. Respect doesn't grow from desperation. It grows from discipline. Respect doesn't grow from unlimited access. It grows from boundaries. Respect doesn't grow from always saying yes. It grows from a man whose no carries weight. When people see that you are kind but not weak, warm but not desperate, available but not absorbent, they can't help but respect you. And respect, my friends, is the soil where attraction grows roots. Now let me break one more lie. You've been told that space means punishment, that stepping back is cruel. Wrong. Space isn't cruelty. Space is clarity. It reveals whether the connection is strong enough to breathe without you suffocating it. And if it isn't, that space just saved you years of wasted energy. If it is, that space makes them see you in a new light, steady, composed, and strong enough to stand alone. So let me ask you, do you want to be remembered as the man who bent until he broke, or the man who stood so firmly in his respect that others couldn't help but rise to meet him? Respect is born in distance. And if you want deep attraction, you need respect more than you need reassurance. Type this in the comments right now as your final affirmation. My respect builds desire. Say it, write it, show yourself, show the world, and show those around you that you finally get it. Respect is not optional. It's the foundation. And if this message hit you hard today, do me one favor. Press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with a brother who needs to hear it, because this truth isn't just about relationships. It's about life. Distance creates respect. Respect creates attraction, and attraction built on respect doesn't fade, it grows. And that, my friends, is the lesson Stoicism has been teaching us for centuries.